नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेमा प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौतमसे नमो ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you in today's reading session. So we are reading Srila Prabhupada's book, Teachings of Kunti. And currently we are on chapter number 18 entitled Liberation from Ignorance and Suffering. So we'll start from this para which is displayed on the screen. Anybody would like to read and volunteer?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Shall
Hare
I
Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, please.
write from the fact? Is it Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, yeah.
The fact is that the spiritual soul is very, very small. Balagrasata bhagasya sadata kalpitasya cha. Shvetashara Upanishad 5.9. The soul is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. Suppose we are to take a hair and divide it into 100 parts. Could we do it? No, that is not possible. But if we could do it and then divide it again into another 100 parts, each part would be the size of the spirit soul. Of course, this is not possible to understand by experimental knowledge. So we can it be learned. One must learn of this from an authority. Our knowledge is so imperfect that it cannot deal with such subtle affairs. And because rascals cannot deal with such things, they think that matter is the cause of life. Mataji, it is to be scroll a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Nonetheless, they have not been able to demonstrate that life comes from matter. Let them take chemicals in their laboratory and produce even a small insect with hands, legs, and eyes. Every night we see many of such small insects with legs and eyes with which they approach the light. From such small insects up to Brahma, there are 84 lakhs different forms of life, among which, among which we are traveling from body to body, leaving one body and enter another body as stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Tata Dehantara Praptihi. Therefore, either we must reject Krishna's word or reject all the so called scientific theories that life comes from matter. But we are pledged to Krishna consciousness, and therefore we cannot reject Krishna's word. We accept Krishna when he says that we have to travel from one body to another. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here, Prabhupada is mentioning that what's the size of soul and what are the soul is it's mentioned in Shweta Svatara Upanishad and even in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 where Krishna is in detail describing the quality of soul, what is soul and what is the quality of soul. So there Krishna has in detail has described and what is the size of soul. So now it's been mentioned here that soul is 1/10,000 fraction of uh, a tip of hair. So we can definitely understand, it's clearly mentioned in Shastra, this is a size of soul. So that we cannot see it with our this gross eyes. So here Prabhupada is explaining that actually it's just a mere logic, or just being a, if somebody is having a very basic intelligence also can understand there are so many things which we can't see. There are so many things. If we think that what we see by our senses, or what we hear from our ears, or what we can feel with our touch is only all in all, so that is foolishness, because our senses are so imperfect. Even if somebody switches off the light when sun is not there and electricity is also not there, the same eyes are unable to see things which are clearly visible during the daytime. That means that there is no inherent capacity in eyes, independent capacity in eyes to see anything. It is conditional capacity. There is, it is relative capacity. There is, and under certain conditions and with certain parameters only, these eyes can see something, and that too up to certain distance only. So if with this basic thing somebody understands that with condition only you can see something, then how to see certain subtle things? And there are so many subtle things. And as we know, many things which we feel we cannot see. Say, for example, I can, that emotions are also subtle. Feelings are also subtle. You cannot touch. If you are happy, there is no entity called happy that you can feel it, you can touch it. It's not a something like a matter. Uh, Suppose I can touch a flower, but I cannot touch happiness. Uh, of course, I can feel it. I can be happy. I can describe that feeling of how to I feel happy. Similarly, there are several emotions which you can't see it, you cannot hear it, but you can feel the symptoms of those emotions. You can, if somebody is uh, in fear, so we can feel, oh, that person is looks fearful. But if I want to separately touch that fear physically with my senses, I won't be able to. So these are the so many things. There are multiple examples which we can't see in this material world, but they do exist. So, if, and when Krishna is saying, informing himself that you are soul, you are part and parcel, Krishna is giving that knowledge to us. And what's the size of the soul? And even if that dimension that is not possible, the tip of the hair to divide it into 10,000 parts, it's physically not possible with our material knowledge and with, in which condition we have been designed in this planet Earth. So we cannot do it with any endeavor, with any expertise, with any amount of knowledge. We cannot divide a tip of hair in 10,000 parts. So that means soul is very subtle. That's what subtle is. It's there. It's very um, prominent, but still you cannot. It's not gross, which you can touch, which you can see, which you can hear, but you can feel it everywhere. It's like if when soul is not there inside this body, then everything is dead. What is absent? Body is already there. All hands, legs, everything is same. But what is missing? So this is again a common sense. If dead body is lying, why the dead body is useless? Because scientists say that by chance, this all the matter, these chemicals came into, in certain by chance, they in certain fashion they combined, and then from that life came. So if this there is their hypothesis. This is just hypothesis. Nothing. They cannot prove this also. But they're saying they not cannot prove. And for a ordinary person, person who is not in scientific field, or person who doesn't belong to any, doesn't have to do anything with science or experiments or prove anything. So if you have two things to believe, one is the one that what Krishna is saying, that's coming directly from Krishna Shastra, and another is by a person who is just like with all the defects. Like there are in Bhagavad Gita also, this is mentioned. This apart apart from Krishna, anything that is on material platform is having four defects. And if somebody is having certain defect, if I if I'm having that defect, if I create something, that creation or invention which I feel that I have created is also bound to have those defects. So what are those defects? So defects are our senses are imperfect. So if perfectly I cannot perceive anything with my senses, with that perception, my perception is also very relative. It may be not 100% correct. Suppose I need to draw a picture, and with my eyes I can see some things, but not to that detail. This is like there in a certain picture is there, and there is a pixel. How much clarity you can see that picture? So if I'm able to see it or to up to certain extent only, so that only I'm going to recreate. If I want to draw that flower, I would be able to recreate up to that extent only, to the extent I'm seeing it. But it is beyond my seeing also, there are so many things. And even in this, if we uh, if we go for the imperfection of senses, with same senses, in this material world, in this contemporary time where all 100 people are present, a tree is present in front of them, nature is there, but everybody is able to see that with up to different extent. An artist can see that same tree with different angles up to so much depth that he would able to make a draw it on a paper, which look, by seeing that everybody would say, oh, it looks so real. Why? And a child or anybody who is not having that capacity to see that tree correctly, it's existing, the same thing is existing, may just scribble it. A child can scribble it, very preliminary, just drawing a trunk and certain branches, and any other person who is also not, because it's related to seeing. Because if you, I have attended one fine arts, uh, a 3-day workshop by an artist, and there they explained, whole 3 days they explained how to see things. So even generally things are present in front of us, but we are unable to see them up to the extent any other person. So what to say about the soul? Then second defect is we have cheating propensity. But all things are, Krishna is beyond this. Krishna doesn't have all these defects. So that's why anything that is coming from Krishna is absolute. Anything who is beyond these defects. So now whom to believe? To believe a scientist who is full of these four defects, or to believe Krishna who is beyond these four defects? So it is wise, it is foremost exhibition of foremost intelligence to believe on Krishna, words of Krishna. And that's why it's being said in all the Shastras that the devotee of Lord is most intelligent person. A person who is having material intelligence and manipulating the matter to invent so many things, it's not just mere intelligence, because everything without nullifying, if, as I said last time, that everything becomes zero if one is not there. This example given by Srila Prabhupada. If one is there, then it has some value of 10. Many zeros. If you are Krishna, if somebody is conscious of Krishna, then everything is Krishna's energy. And then that one person uses, manipulates that matter, knowing that Krishna is proprietor. And this energy, I am also this, my intelligence through which I am going to create everything, or I'm trying to manipulate it. That intelligence is also Krishna. My intelligence is also Krishna. Then that person, whatever he creates in this material world, becomes Krishna conscious. Because he's Krishna conscious, it has some value. It has a value of 10, it has a value of 100, it has a value of 1,000, 10,000, million, trillion, zillion. It keeps increasing. But if that one is not there, if one is not conscious of Krishna, then everything is zero. So scientists are like that. A person who is not Krishna conscious, any hypothesis he gives, if so, ordinary person can believe. Okay, even this Prabhupada says, even if you don't believe on words of Krishna, even if you negate this, you don't have any faith, because initially one doesn't have faith. The process of devotional service starts from faith. One needs to have certain amount of faith. But Prabhupada says, but just by mere logic you can put, because everything you are based on faith. Nothing is, where is the beginning? Even scientists and whatever the knowledge we are believing, that's not also, that's also is a hypothesis. So even if you are not able to believe on Krishna, that Krishna is supreme personality of Godhead, Prabhupada says this very recurrently, that one can, even there is no harm in trying. Let's try this process. Just try it, for give it a full chance, because anyway we are giving so many chances to so many experimental, so-called experimental knowledge, which are not actually, which nothing is being proved. They are just hypotheses. So it's better to just, without even mere logic, to try this process of devotional service. Prabhupada says, just chant the holy names for few months. And because Prabhupada knows, he's Acharya, he knows the power of holy name. Any person who is beginning in Krishna consciousness doesn't know the power of holy name. But whether one knows the power of holy name or not, it's going to work. So that's the why Prabhupada mentioned. And the power of prasadam. That's why in all the centers across the globe in Krishna conscious, in ISKCON, there is so much emphasis on distributing prasadam and chanting the holy name, kirtan. Because any person who comes to the temple, and why temples are made so attractive, so people are able to be, everybody is who is engrossed in sense gratification is extremely sinful. Now one cannot take holy names of Lord until one is somewhat purified. So, but they are so sinful, they want to enjoy anything that comes in mind. My eye should enjoy, I should able to see good, I should able to hear good, my tongue should able to relish palatable dishes. This is a inherent tendency of a soul in this material, who is engaged in this material body. So that's why temples are made so gorgeously, lavishly beautiful, so artistic. Because to do devotional service, to perform devotional service, temples are not required. That can be done very easily under a tree also. In any place, devotional service can be performed. It's not conditional. That's why in Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami is mentioning the characteristics of pure devotional service. It's not dependent on any condition. Anybody in any circumstance can cultivate pure devotional service. For those to cultivate pure devotional service, temples are not required. Such grand temples are not required. So why to put so much emphasis on building such huge buildings, such huge properties, such huge, and how much endeavor is going to take to maintain it? And deity dressing, deity worshipping, elaborate deity worshipping, just to attract people, because they, when they come, they're unable to see. But Krishna is so merciful. Krishna's form is Krishna's form. Krishna's everything is absolute. So even if somebody draws Krishna's picture, somebody, uh, if metal is casted in a form that is Krishna's form, it becomes Krishna. That is Krishna's is really present. But a person who doesn't understand anything about Krishna, doesn't have any faith on Krishna, can come and see that form. His vision is material, but but was just seeing the form of Krishna. Whether he understands that his supreme personality of Godhead directly present, his sins get reduced. And then when somebody comes to temple having Krishna prasad, it's being distributed. That's why so much emphasis, because prasad is also absolute, complete, potent, as potent as Krishna himself. So that prasad also is going to reduce the sin of a just a ignorant materialistic person who comes for sense enjoyment even to the temple. And then thirdly, when person hears the holy name, the kirtan keeps on, devotees keep performing kirtans in the temple. And that too, very melodious kirtan. Why? Actually, Krishna's name can be called out without any melody also. Krishna's name is absolute. Melody is just for gratifying our ear, our senses. So when melodious kirtans with so many instruments, so many devotees try to make it very palatable for materialistic senses. So when they hear the Harinam, so again their sins get reduced. And when their sins get reduced, they're able to take the chant, this process of devotional service. They're able to hear anything. And devotional in this verse, Kunti Maharani is saying that Krishna appears to rejuvenate this process of Navadha, the process of Navadha Bhakti, the 9 process of devotional service, which starts from Shravan, Kirtan, Archan. So, so that's why these all temples are just to bring people to that stage where they can able to start doing, to take this process of devotional service, 9 different ways of devotional service, starting from hearing. And that is only possible when somebody becomes little less sinful. So that's why this there. So it is very uh, easy if we are simple. That's why it's being always said this process of devotional service is very simple for a person who is simple. And it is very difficult one who is more in the modes of, like, it's a material disease. In this purport only later on Prabhupada is describing, it's called bhava rog, the material disease. If somebody is simple, that means the person is not having, is have that his disease is acute. It's not have not reached to the stage of chronic disease. And somebody is cunning, very street smart, very smart how to take things and handle things in material world. That may be very good to achieve material success. But for devotional service, the person is having chronic bhava rog. Everybody is having bhava rog here. Everybody is suffering from this material disease. But a person who is having disease at a lower level, less initial stage, can take Krishna consciousness very easily. So that's why this is scientists, they are having chronic material disease. They feel they're atheist and they try to disprove the words of Krishna. They try to disprove the existence of supreme power. Anything that is there, any power is there who's controlling this. But if you go to simple people, villages, or very people who are not very materially educated, they take things very easily. Why? Because they're simple. So we have to be careful that this material knowledge, material education, until and unless it mostly it happens that people who are very materially scholarly, for them to take Krishna consciousness, very difficult. Because with any achievement in this material world comes, it comes with a one will get that pride. Oh, I have achieved something, and that's the most topmost illusion that we can achieve anything actually in this material. And this is only the ignorance that I am doing. Even when I am creating, I'm going for job, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm cleaning this. I even the what to say of a big things, small things. Like I went and took bath. Actually, that soul, super soul is there in heart, and because of that, the whole body is conscious and soul is there, and that is radiating all the energy. Without the will of Paramatma within us, even we cannot lift our one finger or so. What to say of going and taking bath or cleaning the home or cooking or studying or performing job or making big things, or up to the being an astronaut or going to designing some satellites or designing some spacecrafts to go to other planetary systems. Nothing we are doing actually. And one who realizes that who is doing, what is the force behind everything, that is Krishna. That person is most uh he's out of this ignorance. This is the ignorance, this is the avidya, to think that I can do something, I am doing something. So so that's what Prabhupada here mentioned. And the size of the soul, things are subtle, we cannot see everything, and nothing can be, so many things we are unable to prove by our experimental knowledge. So how we can think? Now the thing is that when we cannot, if you need to understand something and you need to prove 100 pounds regarding that, and you are not able to prove even 1 point. So one needs to understand that this is the capacity I have, and we have very small lifetime. And these scientists, those who work on so many different subject matters, they try to prove. But are they able to prove anything? And how much time they have in their hand to prove anything? So the way Srila Prabhupada is saying in last purport, in last verse, that are they able to provide? They talk about future, but are they able to provide any solution for present? If there is, if some doctor is there and he gives somebody, patient is there, and one that with some symptoms patient goes, forget about the diagnosis and disease. Disease is what I'm experiencing, that is disease. What I need to do with the diagnosis. And if doctor's medicine is unable to give me even 1% relief, and doctor says that I'm going to heal you 100%, or you will, somebody is unable to walk even one step, and doctor claims that I will make you to climb Mount Everest. But even after, and doctor's life is very limited. So similarly, this is the point, that when we believe on this experimental knowledge, so again, so knowledge is there, everything, and that knowledge is coming directly from Krishna. And one who is intelligent, that person, simple hearted person, it's mere knowledge. There is no uh, high level of material IQ is required, no intelligence so much, just mere basic logic one applies, one will understand, takes the words of Krishna, which comes from disciplic succession, unbroken chain, and without any addition or subtraction, with in proper sampradaya, one takes that knowledge and understands that what's the meaning of life, which is things are which are beyond my capacity. If I just try waste my time to prove those things, and for and the human birth is meant to realize that who I am and what is my purpose, why I'm existing, and where should I exist, for what I have been designed for. Human life is meant for that. It's not meant for just to analyze, oh, my body is made up of this, these things are there, how I can give more uh, comfort to my body. It's not fair. So that is a foolishness. And we should, that's what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that experimental knowledge is, it's like ascending knowledge, where you prove one point, then you move ahead another point, then you prove again another point. But if you are stuck on the first point only, and you have to prove 1,000 points, then you cannot move anywhere else. It's not stalemate. But descending knowledge is the person who has designed, who is the mastermind of everything. That knowledge coming from that person, he's saying that this is that, this is that. And one who is intelligent, it's descending from Krishna, directly from Krishna through his empowered devotees, acharyas, is coming to us. And that is the most intelligent step one can take, to accept that descending bona fide knowledge, and to come out of this avidya, to come out of this nescience, material nescience, this bhavarog, this material disease. So this is what Prabhupada is explaining. And if we are in avidya, we feel that we are this body, we are transmigrating in from one body to another. Regarding this, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that even I can feel that when I was infant, I may not be having that memory, but yeah, subconscious memories are there always in our subconscious mind. But we do have some certain good memories even when we're 2 years old or 3 years old, and then of course when one becomes 5 years old, consciously one starts remembering things. We can recollect, and that that 5 year old child transcend to 10 years old child, then 15 years old. We became all teenagers, and then we became young adults. And we can see that body is constantly changing within in our front of our eyes. We see, we don't remember our own birth, but we can see so many children are taking birth in front of our eyes, how they are growing, and how they are growing, and then they are becoming adults. Then after marrying, they are producing byproducts. Their children are being, and when we are seeing even our grandparents and parents, how they are getting old, and then they are leaving their. This is evident in front of us. The body is constantly changing. So there is a continuum. There is a chain of events. It's the flow. It's not a discrete events happening that okay, something happened. A child became 5 years old. Now he's that person is 5 years old only for 20 years. There's some time of 20 years being passed, but that person is 5 years old and now again he started growing. It doesn't happen. There is a continuous regular change. So Prabhupada says then that means birth happens, then death. So it is very natural to, it's very common or very easy to understand that after that also there will be a continuum. That means one will take another birth. So this is a continuum, and which Krishna is saying, if one believes in Krishna, one will understand. Tatha dehantaras prapti dhira tatra na muhyati. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. So it's very easy to believe. And one who says there is no life after death, so they don't have basic intelligence also. They may be very materially advanced, very accomplished materially, but that is like zero without one. So we need not to get into zeros. We need to add one. if 1 is added in front of 0, whether it is 10 or whether it is 1 trillion. But if it attached to 1, it is being, we can take it like if 1 is attached, that means if we are attached, we are connected to Krishna, whether it's a small service, 10 smaller number, or very bigger service. That will be according to will of Krishna. Whatever Krishna wants us to engage in, because everything we will do in pleasure of Krishna. And in material world, there is 10 and trillion, or there is difference in numbers. But in spiritual world, anything that is related to Krishna, engage in service of Krishna, is going to get Satchit Anand, going to get constant bliss. There's nothing small or big, bigger service, smaller service. Even matter is not matter there. Everything is conscious. Even the sand particles on which Krishna is stepping is having same bliss. Even the water that Krishna may touch while walking is having same bliss. Or gopis who are having Rasa Leela with Krishna, they're also having same bliss. So this is the relativity is here in this material world, but it doesn't exist in spiritual world. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. But we will not believe. We'll believe on Krishna and we'll reject everything because believing, as I said, even it was just taking hypothesis also. Krishna conscious somebody doesn't have any faith or intelligence, but take it as hypothesis. Oh, this may be possible. Then that person is having some mercy or some agyas sukriti that he is taking that instead of taking this material hypothesis. So we'll read ahead. Uh, Anybody would like to read?
Read, Mataji.
Yeah.
Every living entity within the material world is under the influence of avidya, ignorance. Avidya karma samnyaya tritiya shakti rishyate. God Krishna has many millions of potencies. Parasya shakti vividhaiva shruyate. And they have been summarized into 3 categories: the external potency, the internal potency, and the marginal potency. The marginal potency and the internal potency are of the same spiritual quality, but the third potency, the external potency, is inferior. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetranyakya Tata Para Avidya Karma Sarmanyaya Tritiya Shakti Rishyate. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yeah.
In this material world, everyone is in ignorance, avidya. Even Brahma was ignorant until he was given knowledge by Krishna. Therefore, no one should be proud of his knowledge. Everyone in this material world is a rascal. A particular living entity desires, if I can get the opportunity to obtain the post of Brahma, then I can create a big universe. Thus he receives the body of Brahma. And the small insect thinks, if I can create a small hole within this room, then I can live very peacefully and eat. Thus Brahma desires to create a universe, and we desire to create a skyscraper, and an ant, and an ant desires to create a hole in a room. But the quality of the work is the same. We are all fools, however, because we do not realize that because these things are material, they will not last. Because of ignorance, we think this will be very nice, that will be very nice. Kama karma bhi. We create some desires, karma, and then we work accordingly. This results in so many difficulties. Krishyanti. To become Brahma is not a very easy thing. Brahma is such a big post, and it is given a very qualified living entity. It is given to a very qualified living entity who is highly advanced in austerities and penance. But he is also a living entity like us. In America, there are many citizens, and President Ford is also a citizen. But by dint of his ardent labor and diplomacy, he captured the post. Still, he is an ordinary citizen. President Nixon, for example, has now been dragged down and is no longer president. This is because he was an ordinary citizen. Similarly, if we like, we may also become Brahma. Therefore, Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, yes, Ita janma hato yata tuya dasa bahirmukha Brahma janme nahi asa. Let me become an insect in a place where a devotee is present, because if I fall down in the dust of the feet of a devotee, my life will be successful. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Baira Mukha Brahma Janme Nahi Asa. I would not want to be a Brahma and not to be a devotee of Krishna. Because we are because we are in ignorance, Maya at any time may forget Krishna. Therefore, we must always engage in Krishna consciousness so that we shall not forget him. That is indicated by Kunti Devi by the words Shravana Smarana Hani. The word Shravana means hearing, Smarana means remembering, and Arhana means worshipping of the deity of Krishna. One should always engage oneself in hearing about, remembering, and worshipping Krishna. All the centers of the Krishna consciousness movement are open only for this purpose, to facilitate chanting, dancing, and worshipping, so that we shall not forget Krishna. Sadatad bhava bhavitaha. If we always think of Krishna, there's a chance that we shall remember Krishna at the end of life. Ante Narayana Smriti. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Madhu.
Everything takes practice. For example, if one wants to dance on the stage, one has to perform many rehearsals to practice how to dance. Then, if one becomes an expert dancer, when one dances on stage, one will receive acclaim. Ah, a very good dancer. But one cannot say, I shall go immediately to the stage and become a good dancer. That's not possible. One may say, no, 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 I shall not attend the rehearsal. Just give me the stage and I shall perform. But the director will not allow this, for one cannot become a good dancer without practice. The real purpose of life is to remember Krishna when one's life comes to an end. Ante Narayana Smriti. If at the time of death one can remember Krishna, his life is successful. Shall I continue? Or anybody wants to read? Anybody else
May I,
wants to
Mataji?
read? Yeah.
Mataji, may I read? Thank you,
Go ahead,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. In this material world, one must suffer from material miseries, but rascals do not care to understand this, for they are absorbed in ignorance. A smuggler may go on with his work, even though he knows that he will be arrested and punished. A thief may know that he will be arrested and punished for criminal acts, and he may even have been punished several times, but still he will commit the same crime again. पुनः पुनः सचरिता charvananama. Why? Ignorance. He is so much absorbed in ignorance that he does not think. I am repeatedly stealing and being repeatedly arrested and sent to jail to be punished. Why am I doing this? The results is not good. A person who is too much sexually inclined may suffer many times for venereal disease and have in undergo treatment, but still he will go to prostitute again. This is Avaidha Sri Sangha, illegitimate sex. But even legitimate sex involves so many difficulties. After sex, a woman becomes pregnant and has to suffer for 10 months, and at the time of delivery, there is also sometimes very great danger, and the father, after the child is born, must take care of the child and work hard to provide for its education. Therefore, the Vedic literature says, Bahu Duhaka Bhajaha. After sex, legitimate or illegitimate, there are so many troubles. Tripyanti Neha Kripanaha. But one who is an ignorant rascal will not be satisfied. Instead, he will do the same thing again and again. Punaha Punasa Charavita Charavananam. This is called Bhava Roga, the disease of material existence. या मैथुनादि गृहमेदि सुखम हि तुच्छम कांद्युयेनेन करायोरत्विवा दुःखम. Bhagavatam 7.9.45. In the Vedic civilization, there are small boys are trained to remain Brahmana, celibate, and not involve themselves in the trouble of sex. But if one is unable to remain brahmachari, he is allowed to marry. After being trained in the beginning as a brahmachari, he will not stay for many years in family life, but will very soon Vanaprastha, retired, and then accept sannyasa, the renounced order of life. This material. Hare Krishna,
So,
Mataji.
yeah, Mataji, just we'll discuss some points, then we'll go on.
Yes, sure, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
So, Prabhupada is mentioning that any desire starting from Brahma to an insignificant insect, anything that has to do in this material world is a cause of bondage, and it's cause of misery. So, but the same Brahma, if we talk about Brahma, Brahma is not an ordinary person. And when Brahma also is doing it by the will of Krishna, if Brahma is becoming secondary creator, then it becomes devotional service. Then that is not will bind him to this material disease, the cycle of birth and death. But thing is that if I'm just a normal person here now, currently in this Mrityu Lok, and if I start endeavoring to become Brahma one day, that is not desirable. Just coming to a human platform when you can realize what you need to do. So we can do anything in this material world. We can even build skyscrapers. We can build big temples. Now, difference between skyscrapers and temples, and what's the intent of the activity, that matters. A skyscraper can also be built, maybe for in some way serving devotees, in some way spreading the Krishna conscious movement. Then that also becomes a devotion service. But anything done apart from Krishna, actually in this, that comes under the over endeavor, that prayas. In Nectar of Instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, Atyahar prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha. Means over endeavoring for any material achievements is detrimental for our devotional service. So, and that's what Prabhupada is giving example. If one wants to become prime minister, one needs to take things what comes easily. So many things come easily as your quota. Actually, if quota is being allotted to every soul in this material world by Krishna, and what comes easily, we should take it and use it in service of Krishna. But over endeavoring to achieve something great in this material world, to become, I can plan, okay, let me become prime minister of this country one day. So how much prayas I have to make? But that prayas I should not made. I should made that prayas. I should spiritualize my prayas. That endeavor should be spiritualized for Krishna consciousness, not for material achievements. Because everything is, that is called, Prabhupada is saying that one who desires anything in this material world is bound to take voluntary misery. With open hands, one is accepting miseries. So we should not become that ignorant. We should come out of this ignorance. And no need to aim for any material achievements. Anyway, pure devotional service is anya abhilashita shunyam. No desire, zero desire. One needs to come to the platform of zero desire. Complete desire to serve Krishna, zero desire to serve oneself. Then that is the pure devotional service. And that devotional service will give us that type of, it will, when we'll enter in that bhakti rasamris sindhu, ras means mellows, devotional mellows, and it's the ocean of that mellows. Then how happy we would be, how blissful we would be. So one who is intelligent should aim for that. That's what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. And that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. What should be the one should desire? What's the real quality of desire? So, in any sense, one should not fall down this process of devotional service. Now, because it's mentioned that there are the different potencies of Krishna is omnipotent, and everything that is happening everywhere in spiritual world or in material world, in manifested cosmic manifestation, everything is by omnipotency of Krishna, and Krishna is having multitude, multifarious energies. But all those energies, prominent energies, if we summarize, can be divided into three. So as Prabhupada mentioned that we are marginal potency, and like internal potency of Krishna, that is acting in spiritual world, and the inferior potency of Krishna, which is this material world, that energy acts, that is external potency, and we are in between. So because we have same quality as internal potency of Krishna. The characteristic and quality of soul is same as Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna, but because we are very minute, we have tendency to get influenced by external potency or internal potency. That choice Krishna has given us. Either we can go towards internal potency or go towards external potency. So we have the tendency to fall down. And how to avoid that fall down? That's what, even after taking Krishna consciousness, we have to be very alert, because we are very prone to come into contact of external potency, that is Maya. All the time when we are engaged in service of Krishna, we are thinking of Krishna. Even in our difficult times, in troubled times, if somebody is diseased, in pain, if you are thinking of Krishna, if you are taking it, that disease also as a mercy of Krishna, that means you are Krishna conscious. It's Krishna conscious. But the moment we start lamenting, victimizing ourselves, oh, why this happening to me? Then we are in effect of Maya. So that's why when we are not in so much misery, there is pade pade vipadam. There is all the time miseries in this material world. That's a characteristic. But whatever time, conducive time we get, if we're able to engage ourselves, cultivate that consciousness, so that in difficult times also we are able to conscious of Krishna. Now, the most difficult time which we are going to face is the time of death. Now, Prabhupada is saying we need to practice for everything. The dancers practices, rehearse for months to practice on the stage, to give good performance. Nothing comes without practice. Similarly, for this devotional service, it can be cultivated, but it needs to be practiced throughout your whole life. And if we think that, oh, we are practicing, because time of death is also most difficult time, as mentioned in Shastra, that one will feel pain as if bitten by 60,000 scorpions. So how much painful that time of death would be. So if we take like that we need to practice. That means whenever there are distresses in our life, now there are several distresses according to our karma. There are threefold miseries by other living entities, by our own mind, and by natural calamities. So if we take during those times, if we are conscious of Krishna, that means everything we take as a mercy of Krishna for our purification, then only if we practice it throughout our life, then only at time of death, there are chances, if we sincerely do, that we'll able to remember Krishna. And to remember Krishna, what's the process? That's what, to rejuvenate that process, Krishna comes. That's what Kunti Maharaj is saying. Some people are saying that it starts with Shravan, Kirtan, worshipping deities. So temples, whenever we feel good, instead of going here and there, one should try to go to temple, because in association of devotees, we're able to hear. Hearing is most important. Devotional service starts with hearing, because even if I am interested in deity worship or some practical service, but if I don't know in what mood I need to do, then my service will become mixed with the tinge of sense gratification. That's why hearing is most important, and temples are made for that only. Otherwise, in nectar of devotion, there, by Rupa Goswami, it's mentioned what one need not to do to big temples just for sake of um, building it, sake of, okay, we have so many properties. Certain people build big temples, but there is no process of training people that Shravan, Kirtan, and how to do that. But Srila Prabhupada and in our acharyas, in our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the way temples are being built, they're built so that people learn how to do smaran, how to do kirtan, how to remember Krishna. And that's why listening is most important, so that even after listening, when I am doing any service, say for example I am doing big book distribution, then I'll understand, because I have done hearing, my consciousness will be, I everything Krishna is doing, I'm just an instrument. And if I'm able to distribute maybe 5,000 books in a day, I'll never get that pride I did something, because that knowledge by Shravan, I got that mood, that what's the real knowledge that Krishna is doing, I'm just an instrument. So that's why Shravan is most important. That's why whenever we are having conducive situations in our life, all the time we should try to go to temples in association of devotees, try to do Shravan, Kirtan, and worshipping deities. And home also, when we worship deity, Krishna is so merciful that it's a very scientific process in how to remember Krishna whole day. Anyway, we are doing our household work. Everybody is cooking, cleaning home. But the moment we make it the temple of Krishna, the same cleaning of temple, same cleaning of a fan in a room, same cleaning of floor cleaning, becomes parisevanam. It's one of the process of Navada Bhakti. So how scientific and how beautiful this process of devotional service is. And same cooking, Krishna will all the time will think. Anyway, we for our senses to maintain our body, we are eating 3 times a day. Some people are eating even more. But when we start thinking about deities, okay, I have to offer the deities. They are hungry. It's time. With rules and regulations we do, and on time we try to do. Then the whole our life become Christianized. We are our consciousness is um, all the time. It helps to be Krishna conscious, and then at the end time there is a chance that we'll able to remember Krishna. For that we need to do practice. And any most important is any difficult times we are bound to uh, get into difficulties, because this is a dukhalaya shashvatam. But if we become some, we are not moved by uh, difficult times, in provocative situations, in provocative, um, we're difficult to be calm. As Krishna is saying, that everything which we are sensing, this dukh and sukh, happiness and distress, is because of sense perception that we are this body. If we practice this in our current life, and these opportunities, these difficulties are opportunity to practice this, that we are not this body. And if we try to tolerate it, as Krishna is saying, Matra Svarshastu Kaunteya, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkha Agamopayano Nitya Samtitikshava Bharat. We need to tolerate it. That is wise to tolerate it, taking it as a mercy. Because if we take it as a mercy of Krishna, then only we'll be able to tolerate it. Because it's going to give me this small pain is going to give me very big reward. So that's the practice of Krishna consciousness. And that we need to do. And here Prabhupada is explaining, but if we are not doing, we are just dwelling in these material miseries, and we are doing the same mistake again and again, again and again, again and again. Even though we are suffering, we are trying to endeavor to get comfort out of the same process, even though you know this process is being failed. If I know this, my father lived, usually children live on the footsteps of their parents or their family traditions. And if your father, if you feel that your father has failed to achieve some tangible happiness, he is no more, then one should need to think, if he has not done any Krishna consciousness, let me do, explore what I can do apart. There is something missing. But if I continue the same thing, following the same thing, generation after generation, that is called chewing the tube. And that is the most, to be most ignorant. And we should try to come out of it in, and we should not do over and over. And that's the most, that is our dharma. That is the real dharma. That is the fundamental dharma, to understand our real position, to come out of this avidya. And anything, any ashram which we choose should be aimed seeing that dharma, how I can be Krishna conscious accordingly. If one is able to be brahmachari and is able to follow brahmacharya, person should take brahmacharya, continue brahmacharya, because then it will be, one can focus completely. But if some tinge of sense desires are there, one should not pretend, one should enter into Grahastha ashram. But because training of brahmacharya is there, one will able to practice brahmacharya in Grahastha ashram also. That's what here it's mentioned. Whether legitimate or illegitimate sex life, it's going to give miseries. And we all have experienced how much difficult it is to take care of a child. But that,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. Yeah, so we should take everything. But as a yagya, we can take this and we can brought up Krishna conscious children, as Srila Prabhupada mentions. So then we'll become Grahastha, not Grahamedi. Okay, so I'll end here.
Mataji, I have one question.
Yeah,
What is the meaning of Vipadam? You say no, Pade Pade Vipadam. Is it danger? Hare
Vipada,
Krishna. Yeah,
yeah,
Vipada. Vipada or Vipadam? Vipada.
yeah, it is danger.
Okay. Then one more question, Mataji. You said if anyone tries to become something, it is detrimental to our bhakti, to our spiritual life. Why is it? Now, supposing somebody wants to enter the IIT, it's detrimental to our
If
sadhana.
thinks that, okay, see, our main aim is to be Krishna conscious. We know everything is impermanent here.
Yeah,
But if somebody having some talent and one uses, somebody is very good in studies
yeah.
and one becomes an engineer. And Srila Prabhupada also, so many of Srila Prabhupada disciples were very scientific minded and they were very scholarly. So
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada encouraged that you do PhDs, you do research, and to establish this Krishna consciousness, to prove it experimentally. But
Okay.
if something is not that, and if we do over endeavor in this material world, so then we will be tangled in this material, and that over endeavor, even in Srimad Bhagavatam in first canto, I don't remember the chapter, in purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, when miseries are there in our life, we should endeavor to, we should, if disease is there, we should try to go to doctor, we should try to follow the
Yes,
what.
yes, I understood, Mataji. I understood.
Yeah, but one should not keep, this is all in all, I had to get out of this misery, I have to get out of this. Focus should be Krishna consciousness, everything will be same.
Yeah,
But
yes, yes.
intent, you want to do, devotees should be at good positions. They can, Prabhupada wanted them to be leaders. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj, he became emperor of whole earth. And similarly, any president of current president like Trump, what's the difference? One is doing to establish the religion by will of Krishna, and other is doing for sense gratification. for own desires, and one is making this material word spiritual word, and other is making this material word more hellish.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
So true.
so
So
it is
true, Mata.
important.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I understood, Mata. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so it's already 8 minutes past.
Yeah, yes. We realize.
We'll end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Danda pranam.
Ancha kalpitaru
Kalpatarubyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam
patita.
pavanebhyo vaishnavevo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Mataji. Danda pranam. Hare
Hare
Krishna.